Welcome back. This is Crystal Tottenham here from Crystal Clear Coaching. I have not been here for the past few days. Just ran out of time each day, honestly. I attempted to film a video last night, but I was falling asleep in front of the camera, so wouldn't have been that exciting. Anyway, we're back now. We are on day 29 of flow posting. Only a couple days left before we've hit the 31 days. Over a month and a half because I've taken a few gaps in the middle, but we're still making up the 31. We're talking about tuning into you and really knowing yourself at that deep level, and then how you can show up in the world because of that. In your relationships, your friendships, your family relationships, your romantic relationships, with your work colleagues, your systems, the infrastructure that exists around you, the dynamics. There is, everything internal, like it all begins internally, even if we've built an internal world that is from the external. So that's what I want you to notice, is when your internal world is built off external things that don't actually matter to your true core, your true internal compass. Because even if something is internal, it can actually be external if you haven't figured out what's actually you speaking, what's coming from your heart, what's your authentic self, and what is not, what's conditioning, what's something that maybe a past version of you would have resonated with but you no longer resonate with. What is you now in this present moment? What is you and what is not? And learning how to discern that and be really, really sure of that in any given moment, just at the snap of our fingers, will help you trust yourself to make the decisions that are right for you in any given moment. It's a really, really important skill to have to live a life true to yourself, authentically yourself, and I cannot think of a more worthy cause than you really, truly and deeply knowing yourself, first and foremost. And today I want to talk about why you should romance yourself like you would a romantic partner. I have touched on this already, but you're the most worthy person in your life for your life. Nobody else is going to create the things that you want to the intricate level that you can understand, which really resonates and lights you up and aligns with you. Yes, that does mean that you need to do the work, at least to a degree, at least get it going. And continually check in that it's still what's at your core, what's at your best and highest, what you want to create in the world. But can you, instead of swiping through an app, looking for external validation from someone who's a stranger at the moment, if it's a swiping app, if you know what I mean, the ones I mean, or even, going to speed dating or something, it's still great to put yourself out there in those ways, especially if that's something you know at your core that you really want to attract into your life. But could you also make sure, first and foremost, you're fitting in time to have a hot date with yourself in whatever way you want that to mean? I'm not going to wax poetic too deeply here on YouTube, but just make sure you're finding the romance in your life. Kind of like the Charlie XCX song, Everything is Romantic. I like to think that she's singing about you can make romantic things about any facet of your life, and it doesn't need to be about a partner or multiple partners if you're into that kind of hopefully ethical version of those things. And I just think, what better way to light up your life and make you feel alive again Like, are you feeling alive in 2025? Or is it kind of become like monotonous adulthood? Everything's more expensive, everything's a bit harder, you have more obligations, more that you feel you should do, and you're shitting all over yourself. What would happen if you just made it a priority, even just like once a week for half an hour, once a week for a couple of hours, to romance yourself? And just, whether it's putting on a movie that excites you, watching it alone, whether it's taking you for a romantic walk along the beach at sunset or sunrise, whatever you're into. If you're into getting up early, good for you. I wish I was that girl. I'm not that girl. Just whatever feels most romantic to you. Stop waiting for someone else to do it for you. Do it for yourself. Put on that red lipstick. Own it. Be you. Romantically. And it's not about attracting someone else above and beyond that. Though obviously if you want that, the more magnetic you are, the more that you're loving your life, living it up, romanticizing your own existence, the more magnetic you're going to become when those external factors start showing up to the level that is worthy of you. So, go romance yourself. How are you going to take yourself on a date this week? Maybe you just want to cook yourself a nice meal. Use all the good ingredients, maybe just take yourself out for a meal. If you have kids, maybe you want to book a babysitter just to hang out by yourself. And if that means booking the babysitter to take the kids out for an adventure so that you have the house to yourself, great, do that. Or maybe it's taking yourself out for a massage whilst kids stay at home. There's an endless opportunity to romance yourself. I have always been secretly, maybe not so secretly, the girl who's loved storytelling, has loved fantasies, has loved the story in many forms. Started with books and then movies and music, and I love storytelling in all its forms. And I will tell you this, it took me a while to own this. I think I've owned it now, so it shouldn't be a huge surprise to anyone that knows me. But it's actually the romance in every story that really hooks me, that gets me there. And I love. I think that's such a beautiful thing. I love the idea of people coming together, and the beauty of a story is that there will be, the tension, there'll be the back and forth and the misunderstandings, but they'll come to a point where they're aligned, and, if it's a, romantic comedy or romantic drama, most of the time they will end up together and it'll be tied up in a nice little bow. We don't necessarily get that in real life though, do we? And funnily enough, for my own journey, my own romantic journey, externally, I've moved on a little bit from talking about myself, but we'll come back to that, you just wait. My own romantic journey, I just didn't feel worthy for so long. I didn't think anyone looked at me like that. I just was happy to be with the gal with my head in the clouds and my head in a book, a story, being nerdy about that, and it took me until I had dated a little bit in my teens, but it took me until I think I was 23, almost 24, before I could really start where I really started talking to guys. I attempted it in my early 20s, but I honestly felt out of my depth, and I felt like I had to be drinking on a Friday or Saturday night or out in order to have that liquid confidence, so to speak, to meet someone and talk to them. I just had no idea, and my God, the embarrassing stories I could tell you about making something up completely in my head and then thinking it was reciprocated, only to say something to the person that I'd made up all the stuff about, which wasn't even them in hindsight, and realize I'd completely fabricated this whole love story in my head, because I was really good at doing that. And yeah, definitely had some cringe moments from that, but haven't we all? But it's so easy to like have that become crushing reality in this external thing that you wanted so much. Beautiful. It's called a crush for a reason, because most of the time it crushes you. It's fun though, for a while. Hopefully your crush turns into something that isn't crushing you, or at least not in a bad way. Sorry, I don't know what. Anyway, moving on from that. So like you just wanna have those moments though when you're younger, to learn what it's like when you don't have it all together. And I, in hindsight, am grateful for that. And then when I did start getting out there a bit more and felt a bit more confident, and then travelled the world a little bit and met people around the world, I found, oh, I am attractive. And actually, it was my first personal development seminar that I had this big confession at the front of the stage and said, like, I want a boyfriend. And I was embarrassed to admit that, because I didn't want to be one of those girls that cries because she doesn't have a boyfriend. Ooh. That was a huge ooh to me. And yet, I was a romantic bitch on the inside. So, yeah. Imagine if I'd been putting all this energy into myself instead. Anyway, I hadn't at that point. I have since. In waves. I'm not going to say I'm perfect at it. There's definitely times I've done cringy things over the years since then. But also, like, there is... Yeah, travelling around, I dated a fair amount. And don't be looking at me with that dirty look. That didn't mean like that. I just mean like it was a young person that was dating in a normal amount. Anyway, and also date as much as you want and do what, no judgment here. Thank you. And yeah, that kind of continued as I travelled. I went to London for a couple of years, came back to New Zealand for a few years, 2 years actually, and then I went to Canada for a couple of years, to Vancouver, and, did some more dating in that time. Had a few short relationships, but nothing of any seriousness to this day. And I'm 36 years old, and I'm okay with that. I truly am, even though I'm the one looking for the romantic storyline and everything. And I have realised in recent years, thanks to, there's actually a brilliant dating, relationships and just life coach, Matthew Hussey, who I've learnt a lot from, because he's been working with women for most of his career of about 17 years, but also understands men and how their brains work, and he's got some brilliant stuff. Please look him up if you are wanting more help in this realm. He's got a book called Love Life. Start there if you're a reader or an audiobook listener. Otherwise, he's also got a podcast and all sorts of other things available. But his work has helped me so much to own my worth and my value, And actually, it made me realize I was just thinking, I'll be the best girlfriend if somebody just says yes to me. And I wasn't considering, where's the reciprocation in this? And so I was so ready to give so much energy to this potential partner I didn't even know who was. And I'm actually quite grateful in hindsight that nothing serious actually has taken off for me, because I would have given it my all to my own detriment. And now that I've learnt that I'm first and foremost the most worthy person of my attention, of my romancing, I just know anyone that I'm gonna end up with, that I'm going to attract in, has to come in at that level. Otherwise, I'm not interested. Wish you the best, but I am not interested. And it's such a cool place to finally be in. And I'm also so stoked that I've got to live. You know, I've been an adult for a while now, I hate to admit, but I have got to live a life by my own terms, do what I want to do. Somebody's just taking in the trash. You should take out the trash, all the gunk, the toxic stuff in your brain, and figure out what is not serving you, what's having you show up and undervaluing yourself. What can you do to make sure you're romancing yourself, and you make sure that you come first? And I don't mean that in what used to be the real understood term of what selfish is. I think being ish of the self is actually a good thing. Just not with that lens that we used to look at it, 20 plus years ago. I look at through the lens of, you are putting yourself first, and imagine if every human on the planet put themselves first, looked after their own needs first, and then from that filled up space then served the world. I'm looking for that kind of selfish. And I want a partner that's going to meet me and romance themselves, excite themselves first and foremost, show up from that passionate, beautiful standpoint. Like, look at their internal stuff, do their own work, and meet me. And I'm excited for that. I am. So, how are you going to romance yourself? Please, if you do this, do this, come on, do this. You know you want to do this. You're the hottest date, obviously, for yourself. Like, if you don't think that, you better start believing it. And if you need to work your way up to that, just start seeing yourself. Again, it's on that affirmation spectrum. If it's too far to go like, I'm the hottest shit ever, then, just say, I'm a bit of alright. Whatever it feels like you can believe it, mind, body and soul. Work your way up to get into the, I'm hot shit, I'm taking myself out for a good time. Or in for a good time, whatever you're into. You do you. Well, it just keeps coming out. Anyway, I should leave it there, but please go and romance yourself. And when you do eventually come to the point where you want to romance someone else, just make sure your cup's filled up first, and I'm sure whoever you meet from there will be stoked to have met you. And if you align with your compatibility and your wants and your lifestyle needs and values and all that good stuff, you're gonna have the most juicy relationships. Or relationship, hopefully, just one. Again, whatever you're into, you do you. but you do you first, and then you can consider inviting someone else into that. Alright, this was a slightly different one, but still about putting you first. Much love. See you tomorrow.